I got that funk for your ass. I got the funk for you. In the morning, in the evening.
Is something wrong with your phone for sure? First I'm gonna tell you something's wrong with it. Then I'm gonna tell you no need to read. No need to read the label warning. Oh no, just take two of me, girl, and promise you'll phone me in the morning. Woo!
I'm gonna make you sick. I'm gonna make you sick of me. And I'm gonna give you the antidote. Something to make you feel better. I'm gonna make you sick. I'm gonna make you sick of me. Then I'm gonna give you the antidote. I got the funk for you. I got that man for your ass. Dr. Feel Good.
Dr. Phil.
Feel me.
I'm gonna make you sicker. Get up, switch up, hit you with this pill, my nigga. Funkin' tell a kid, and you better be telling me you feeling this. Real as it gets, no substitute. Admit now what you caught up. Tangle in that funk wave we brought you. Jamming that knee deep, bang bang, ski ski. Not totally deep, but deep enough. Wow, you ain't here, bitch, you glory hella stupid. Funkenstein provided this groove, swap looped it. Oops, it's the greatest rhymes of all time. Swing down, sweet cherry and stop, that's why I'm. Don't make you sick of me. All this hip hop history. When you mix that funk, you get with me. Funk, the dudes from Jones, I got the antidote with the words I spoke.
Make you sick. I'm gonna make you sick of me. And I'm gonna give you the antidote. Something to make you feel better. I'm gonna make you sick. I'm gonna make you sick of me. Then I'm gonna give you the antidote. I got the funk for you. I got that man for your ass. Bend over. Dr.
Stand
Feel
up.
Good.
Walk straight.
Feel me.
Alright, straight ahead, young man.
Oh, yeah, we got one for you today. Special guest, special live edition. We'll be rerunning this Saturday as well. But I got a real treat for you today. You know, I know this surprise we popping up in the middle of your work day, but don't worry, we're gonna be all over the place with this one, and it's gonna be shown several different times in a few different days. My guest today, Daniel BEDROSIan, from P-Funk, you know, is coming on, and you know he's going to talk about his new book, and as well as you know what he does with the Secret Army. You know, he's one of the people that I admire in his business. You know, and when it comes to the P-Funk, you know, of course, all his accolades and you know how he manipulates the keyboards and you know all of this great writing and music and stuff like that. So you know we're gonna bring him on in a minute. I see he just beamed in. I know he's really mad busy, so I really appreciate it. But again, you know, Make My Funk the P-Funk, his brand new book is out. Daniel Bedrosian is in the house. Easy for me to say. So we're going to bring him on without further ado because we want to get this funk on for you, and we appreciate this brother's time. So we have his information at the bottom. Y'all make sure y'all go back and, download his information. It'll be scrolling across the bottom, how you can reach him, how you can contact him, get the new book. Don't forget, you're watching Funk from the Front Seat right here, 9 on the Grind TV live special edition. And please smash that like button and please subscribe. Facebook says and YouTube says I got to get my numbers up. All right. So right now, without further ado, I got my main dog in the house, spending some time with us. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Zach. Glad to be back, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Yo, man, it's my pleasure. Are you kidding me, man? You're one of the funk kings out here doing the thing hard like that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, straight up, man. We appreciate all you do for keeping it alive, man. For me personally, it's always great to chat with you and see you at shows and concerts, but you've been working on this particular project for a while, so we're gonna dive right into it. Again, you can find this information at the bottom. Last time you were on, you were talking about this book, and we've been in contact here and there. And over the years, you've been compiling this book, right? Mm-hmm. First of all, the title. Why did you want to title it "Make My Funk the P-Funk"? What was your thought process with that?
Yeah, so it's great talking to you again, Zach. Thanks again for having me on. Glad to be back here. When the first book came out, it came out in September of 2023. The authorized P-Funk song reference, and you and I talked about that when it came out. I think at the end of 2023, correct. And it did really well. I'm happy to say the publisher, it became their bestseller. So they ended up getting bought by a bigger company, Bloomsbury, which is an even bigger publisher based in the UK. And a lot of this success is, I'm happy to say, the result of my book doing really well. So my book became a bestseller for them and caused them to have more success. So right. They were pretty immediately hitting me up about doing more books. It really shows the power of the P-Funk and how this is something that's been needed to happen a long time ago. In the 90s, we got a few books about funk history, and some of them dealt with the P-Funk, but we're only now starting to get real P-Funk books, real specific books about P-Funk. So they hit me up. The reason I called this "Make My Funk the P-Funk" is because they hit me up about doing specific periods in P-Funk history. So now they said, Danny, the hardest work is over. You did the big book. Now we just need you to do, some specific topics on P-Funk history. So, the first thing that came to their mind, and again, they're editors, they're publishing people. They're not necessarily P-Funk fans first, but right. they do love this music. So, the first thing that came to their mind was the Mothership. Danny, how about a Mothership book? So I said, okay, a Mothership book, huh? So that was their offer. And right. And I said, I had to think fast because I was kind of I wasn't all the way into that idea because, I know our fan base, and I know that, every single person, Zach, has a different experience with the Mothership, what it means, what their first time was when they first saw the landing, maybe in 76 or 77, or maybe it was 96 or 97. And they have these very specific ideas about what the Mothership means. I said, I'm a musician. I went to school for history. I think it takes a philosopher to write a book like that, because everybody has these real transcendent ideas about what the Mothership is. And,
true that.
So
yep.
I said, how about a 1975 book instead? And they said, okay, well, what does that look like? What does that mean? I said, well, Mothership Connection comes out at the end of 1975, but that's only a third of the story. You've got Chocolate City in April, changes the whole game. You got Let's Take It to the Stage also in April, changes the whole game again. Yeah. And then, they really set the stage for what happens in Mothership. And I said, and more importantly than that, 1975 is the only year where this band starts out in station wagons and ends up with platinum. That's the only year that's like that. Yeah, there is no other year, So So I felt like that's the paradigm shift. That's the culminating moment. It's not the high point. The high point is 78. It's not the first year of number ones. That would be, like 77. But this was the beginning of platinum. And it was the shift from like, they were charting and stuff. It's not like they didn't have charting success, but they didn't have tear the roof off the sucker.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And so I wanted to write a book about that. So that's where the name, and as you know, that's also the year that they coined the phrase P-Funk.
P-Funk, yeah.
Yeah, so I just thought that what a great year to start with, because they want me to write more books in general. They don't just want me to write another book. They want more books, and they want a series that has like the same themes. So this will be the first in what will probably be many of these like yearbooks for P-Funk history.
Right. You know what I wanted to say? Because when you said something and I was just taking notes from my phone. I always do that.
Yeah.
You said something very specific, and this is true. In 1975, the gravitation from America Eats Its Young and that earlier funkadelic stuff, and then of course up for the Downstroke album, then Chocolate City. From that, as soon as Chocolate City came out, we were all 16, 17, and 18. So it gave us a sense of the Black Power movement, number one.
Right.
It gave us a sense of, wow, they're making this music just for us because they dress like us. The raggedy jeans, the nappy hair, the afros, they're singing to us. So it was almost like hip hop did with the first group of hip hop people.
Right.
It was specifically the right time. And I have a strong belief that that's why it hit so hard, in addition to the great artistries and musicians and the genius of George and Bootsy and Bernie and all of them, and Eddie Hazel, the whole thing. I think that's why it hit so hard, because we were waiting for that. They became our superheroes. Like you said, 1 minute I saw them at Randall's Island, and then the next minute they were at Madison Square Garden. And those were the same people I had on my wall, and I was like, holy shit! This thing done took off. Let me grab the mothership while I can. So man,
that's cool that you. Oh, thank you, Zach. That's cool that you mentioned that too. I like that personal recollection, because I do a chapter as well at the beginning of the book about like a historical overview of 1975 and what was happening in the world in 1975. And I argue that you have George Clinton, super innovative character, and without him there wouldn't be a Chocolate City song or record. But then at the same time, the environment, the political and the social environment has to be just right for a George Clinton to feel like this isn't subversive to put this on Parliament. Because, if this wasn't a Funkadelic record, and Parliament had already, by the time of Downstroke, Funkadelic always struggled on the charts in those early years. But as soon as Parliament drops, Downstroke is it charts, So I think he knew that doing it on Parliament, it was less subversive than Funkadelic. So for him to feel safe doing something like a Chocolate City in 1975, the right kind of stuff had to happen in history in that time in 1975 for that to occur. So I talk about how, Gerald Ford institutes Black History Week that year. It's not a month yet, but it's the beginning of U.S. presidents actually saying anything positive and recognizing the huge strides and the huge contributions of the African-American community historically and contemporaneously in America. So that was kind of a first, but I also counter that with I use real statistical census information, like the U.S. Census demography census, where it shows that Black folks were still more impoverished. They still dealt with much more hardships than the rest of the general population in America. So it wasn't like, oh, things are great now, but there were strides towards versions of more equality. Another one I want to point out is in sports. Arthur Ashe in April, I think it's the same month Chocolate City comes out or right before, Wimbledon, and becomes the winner at Wimbledon. And it's a major it's a major first for the community.
Yes, it is. Yes,
You
it
know,
is.
so
Yes, it is.
you're seeing strides in politics, you're seeing strides in sports, you're seeing strides in music, entertainment, you know, from the community. And so I think like the environment was preparing itself for a George Clinton to be able to release Chocolate City, and not just on Funkadelic where it won't make as much of a splash, but on Parliament where they were already, you know, selling more records.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's funny you say that because see now what we used to living in New York, we used to go to Jersey to buy our Funkadelic albums because they
Right.
rarely sold them on Long Island. You know, they sold Parliament, but they didn't. It was hard to find Funkadelic, so we used to like get on the train, all of us together, get our little allowance, and ride into the city, hop another train, ride into Jersey. Sometimes we could find them in New York City, you
Yeah.
know, if we
Yeah.
looked around. But you know, we knew that they were, you know, based in Jersey. We was like, you know, and out of Ohio, but we was like, yo, let's go to the source. Every
Yeah.
record store in Jersey will have it, you know.
That's
And
true.
and in 75, when that album came out, there wasn't a person that was in our circles that didn't go buy that album on Long Island alone. Chocolate
Wow.
City, just like chocolate, because it spoke to us in a way that James Brown said, "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud," but it spoke to us in a way that was us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
James was always James, but
Yeah.
we were that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
to follow that up with, of course, Let's Take It to the Stage, you know, The Exorcist that came out, you know,
Yeah.
the Linda Blair. We was like, oh my God, they going for it. And I tell you, we're hanging out today, man, with my dog Danny BEDROSIAN, man. He's gracious enough to spend time with us. Fun for the Front Seat, Not on the Grind TV. Subscribe, smash that like button. When we heard Ride On, and then you know, in turn we heard Let's Take It to the Stage, and it just messed our minds up, you know, so badly that we was instantly hooked. This is before we got the P dropped on us with Mothership Connection.
Right.
So we were expecting Mothership Connection, not knowing how or what or when, but we were like, yo, be on the lookout for their next shit, because Chocolate City dropped so hard. We was like, yo, their ascension is going.
Yeah.
When we think about, you know, Let's Take It to the Stage, it was so cool to hear them talking shit to the other bands on the record.
Totally.
And we loved all those other bands.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
We said, damn, who's this George Clinton guy? He got some sense. He got some sense, bro. Because he's like, fuck you for that. And it was so dope. We was like, yeah, that's right. Snoofers, tell me something. You know, we was walking around repeating the lines, man. What did you think about all of that when you first heard it?
Yeah, that stuff really blew my mind. You know, because that's my favorite album of all time. Not just P-Funk album. That's my favorite. And a lot of people know that. And so, like, you know, I wasn't going to write a book about 75 without an entire chapter dedicated to Let's Take It to the Stage, because just the music, the concepts, the lyrics, the lineup, the artwork, everything about it was perfect to me. And that title track, you know, I talk about it in the book, and I describe it in the book as the first legitimate diss record, you know, way before hip hop. And, you know, Clinton was doing, you know, Clinton did some songs where he spoke like spoken word, kind of like what the Last Poets did, you know, like Mommy, What's a Funkadelic, or Good Thoughts, Bad Thoughts, or you know, but some of these other
Witch's Castle.
Yes, exactly. But then there were some other ones where he was really rapping in meter, you know, and Let's Take It to the Stage is, you know, like Loose Booty or Whole Lot of BS, or those ones, you know. Let's Take It to the Stage is another one of those ones, again, 3 or 4 years before Rapper's Delight, and doing like diss records, like not even, you know, Rapper's Delight was like, yay, hip hop, you know. Let's Take It to the Stage was like Earth, Hot Air, and No Fire, you know, like they were going in hard on these other bands. Now, the cool thing about it too is that, you know, George came from that world of like Iggy Pop and the MC5 and all those like hard rock bands from the early 70s and late 60s, and their whole thing was shock value.
Yes.
So George knew the power of shock value on the radio. He was even smart enough to make Let's Take It to the Stage a single, but it was just too far ahead of its time to chart anywhere above number 89 on the R&B charts. Again, he's rapping way before rap. He's saying some bad words, and he say, you know, funk used to be a bad word. I think it still was a little bit of a bad word on the radio at that point. So like they weren't going to blow up on a song like that, but it was an open challenge to the other bands. And the challenge essentially wasn't we hate you. It wasn't we don't like you or we're making fun. It was in love and jest. And like what George really wanted was the other bands to come back. And in my opinion, the only one who came back the way George wanted is Kool and the Gang. Yeah. Because they did the, you know, Ladies Night. And the lyrics, you know, touch on Mothership Connection as like a jab, but it's a friendly jab. And it's, in other words, they understood the assignment, you know, like Kool and the Gang isn't my favorite of those other bands, you know, but they understood the assignment. They understood George was trying to create waves for all the funk bands, 75 and 76. All these groups are still funk bands. None of them have sold out yet. They're all still doing the thing, riding the wave. 75 was still, you know, Kool and the Gang and Earth, Wind & Fire, none of them had really softened yet. They were still pretty hard, you know. And
you know, it's funny you say it because and you're right, he was first, because when you listen to a Morris Day and the Time and what they started doing, they got that straight from George, how they went into that diss mode about shit. Because when we heard it, we was like, you know, P-Funk was always separate from, you know, we've seen the Earth, Wind & Fires and Chaka Khans and, you know, Kool and the Gangs and, you know, Motherfucker. We've seen all of them because all we would do is go to concerts. That's all you could do back then. There was no real YouTube and there was no social media. When you got your information, that shit was spit on you from the people doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well put. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we got the sweat on us, bro. And we knew that being a part of the P-Funk world, which I am blessed to be, man, in that orbit, we knew then, like, yo, this shit is going to stand the test of time. This is our Miles Davis. This is our, you know, Billie Holiday. This is us. Yeah. And as things progressed, and, you know, we look at how brothers like you come in, you know, taking the torch. What was that like to take the torch from such an amazing genius, the Bernie Worrell?
Yeah. You know, when I first got into the band, you know, I was blessed to still, I always say this, I was blessed to still have so many of the guys that we've lost in the last 15, 20 years, you know, still in the band and still working and still very much alive and very fresh and very, you know, in the game. And Bernie was one of them. You know, I talk less about Gary Scheider and Cordell Boogie Mawson, but they were huge teachers for me as well. Of course. As well as, you know, Billy Bass was in the band when I joined too. So like I had two original Funkadelics, Bernie and Billy, right there at the helm of the thing, working with me every day at rehearsals and sound checks and at the shows day after day after day. So there was a lot of dudes, you know, Mike Hampton and Blackbird and Greg Thomas and Lodge and Clip. They all were like big mentors for me. But of course, it being my instrument, you know, keyboard.
Yeah, that's specifically
Bernie.
Asked, yeah,
Bernie being, you know, such an influence on me. And then when I came in, he saw two things in me. I can say that I was actually talking to a good buddy of mine from Boston last night about this on the phone. I said, you know, Bernie saw two things in me. He saw that I was a classical musician, which is exactly what Bernie is. And he saw that I had the feel, because he'd always say, it's the feel, Baba. It's the feel, you know? And you just have to have the beginning of that, you know, and just really, he was like, we're just going to develop that. You have the feel already. We just need to put that right on Front Street. You've got the technique, you know, and then he started just training me, you know, and it was hard. It was hard. It wasn't easy work studying under Bernie Worrell, even for someone who had been playing piano. You know, by the time I started working for Bernie, I was 22 when I first started mentoring under him. I was 22 years old. Which means I'd been playing piano for 19 years by that point. So it wasn't anything new to me. I'd already really been very well trained, but he had really drilled into me. You know, he had basically, every song has a part, you know, the bridge, the main, the verse, whatever, chorus. And in every section, Bernie would have 4 to 6 ways, variations that he would play that one section, right?
Right.
Then he would have 3 inversions for each of the chords. So you got like the 4 to 6 variations, but you can invert it 3 different ways. So you're looking at between 12 and 18 different ways to play each single part in every song. So he was making me learn like 12 to 18 different ways to play every part in every song, and standing over me like at the shows, making sure, no, don't do that one. You need to know where to put these. You need to know where these go, you know, like, and it's all like such minutia, like super intricate. Like, these are things even some of the other musicians weren't doing on the other instruments. You know what I mean? This is like some crazy Bernie stuff, you know? And it was an amazing bunch of years working under him, you know? It was like really incredible. And yeah, the Wu master, I mean, like, it was, you know, it was like nothing I had, you know, it was very much like studying under my dad. My dad was the same way. It was super strict, classical, expected results. He expected you to get it right. So it was that kind of thing. But I mean, God, I mean, what an honor, because I remember his technicians, and Bernie would keep a couple techs at all times. You know, his technicians would say, he ain't never shown this shit to nobody. You know, the stuff he was showing me, he was like, he ain't never shown this to a damn person ever. You know, he's like, he really likes you. You know, and Bernie really showed nothing but love to me.
Yeah,
and
I got a chance to talk to him a few times, man, when I was hanging out up there. When, you know, Sheila had brought me around, and, you know, Amuka Kelly obviously now.
Yeah.
But yeah, to get back to what you said, because obviously all the other great musicians in the band made the band, and all the P-Funk ladies as well, because we don't talk enough about them. And, you know, I got a chance to hang out with Dawn and Belita, you know, and really, you know, absorb when I was like in my little orbit. And then that's why, hence the Nappy and Funk Army. George and Boosie told me start my own band. You know, we played at his birthday party, and he said, "Nah, man." He said, "I got enough drummers." He said, "Start your own band." You know, and you know, true to form, he was right, you know, about that, and I thank him to this day for that. So George, if you're watching, thank you, because I did start my own band, and we still funking. And you know, getting back to the book, and thank you for that, because I didn't want to leave certain things that I had notes, and if you see me looking, I'm not ignoring you. We're hanging out today with Danny BEDROSIAN, because I got my B's and D's screwed up, but P-Funk, All-Star, the Secret Army, author, father, husband, you know, mentor to many, friend to many, known all throughout the world for what he does. And we're gracious to have him today on Funk from the Front Seat Live, an exclusive, a special, which will be rerunning this Saturday at our normal time at 12 o'clock. What I wanted to ask real quick, because I have to mention this, I'm working with Guy Curtis now. Not Charlie, he's in my band now, right?
Yep.
And he was like, I have to tell you for him. He said thank you, because we were reading the book and his name popped up in that audition thing. Yeah, so that was cool, you know. So Guy, I got your plug in, bro, man. I'll see you Friday.
Guys in the new book too, because I did like a real special thanks to everybody who had been in P-Funk at the special thanks at the top of this new book, and it's got everybody in there in alphabetical order. So Guy, you're in there too. So
wow,
we ain't forgetting, ain't nobody getting forgotten about here. Okay, this is
So tell me now. This is why we getting into the B block now. That's the A block. Smash that like button. Please subscribe. Let's get into this. Okay. We talked about the title and why, and you know, thank you for explaining that, because a lot of people that are laymen, they really need to know that. And to you and I, it may sound like, oh, why you need to know that, but for some people, because people still don't know what the P stands for.
Exactly.
And I get them all the time. I was like, Plainfield, son. You know what I'm saying? So,
nice.
But the why you talked about, but the research. Tell us about the research, pen to paper.
Yeah.
First time.
So what I did with this one, much like the first book, I needed to seek out a bunch of interviews. So I decided, primary source interviews, that's the way to go. Me interviewing them myself, getting, recording it and getting these quotes. And unlike the first book where, I just recorded the information they told me, because it wasn't really like for an interview. This information, you're getting it in their words, So I talked to a bunch of the people that I talked to for the first book, some of the same folks, because they were involved in these 3 albums. The obvious ones: George Clinton, Mudbone Cooper, Michael Hampton. I got like some of the back stuff from Archie Ivy, who was George's manager for 50 years and still is. I talked to, band members from that period. But I also got a few of the guys that I wasn't able to get for the first book. So I got a really good set of interviews that I did personally with Fred Wesley. And that was huge for this book, and because for him, he experienced a massive paradigm shift in 1975. That's the only year that Fred Wesley plays for the JBs and then P-Funk in the same year, so a lot of all the stuff that goes on there, he gave up some really cool stories. And then I talked to folks like Reggie McBride, who's like a little lesser known, but he's super important in the P-Funk thing because he played bass. In addition to being the bass player for Rare Earth in the mid-'70s, he also, and he played on a million people's records, Stevie Wonder and all kinds of artists. But Reggie played on Good to Your Ear Hole and Stuffs and Things on the bass. So he was, so that's him on bass on those 2 tunes. And so getting to talk to him about the recording process for the Let's Take It to the Stage album and like what went down, who was there, a lot of cool studio stories and stuff like that. So that's sort of how I started it. And then I wanted to take some of the information that I'd gotten from the first book and just update it. So like I added the personnel info from the first book for those 3 albums, but there's some kind of corrections and some updates that I added to it. And then I got like all the charting information, because one person had said to me, "Oh, I wish you included all the charting information in the first book." And the reason I didn't, I talked about in the introduction, I said, it's just space, like this thing would have been 1,000,000 pages. The first book would have been 1,000,000 pages if I included everything that I wanted to include. But on this one, in between there's a chapter about the first 20 years before 75, and then there's another chapter about the 50 years after 75. Between those 2 chapters and the 3 album chapters, you get all the charting information from Billboard. What number the albums made it on, pop, R&B, UK, dance charts, and on, and the songs themselves. So you get to see exactly what charted where, because people had asked me, they wanted that, So I did that. I did some crazy research into the samples on those 3 albums, how many, and so there's a whole chapter in the appendix about the samples on those 3 albums, like what songs sampled those songs on those 3 albums. So, and that was a huge research project.
Because they are the most sampled.
Oh my God. Yeah. And like songs like Get Off Your Ass and Jam or like Mothership Connection. I mean, these songs have been sampled so many times.
Yeah.
So it was cool being able to put that together, because that's something that the fans had specifically asked for. So I was trying to do like a mixture of what I thought would be a great book for the publisher, what I thought would be a great book for me, and paying attention to that fan service a bit from like some things that they had asked for from the first book. So, and one of the only other things that they asked for that I wasn't able to include was the lyrics, because initially there was an extra 80 pages of this book that was all the lyrics to the 3 albums. But because of legal disputes, ongoing legal disputes, we had to pull it from the book, unfortunately.
Yeah. And thank you for hanging out today, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, Zach. Thank you for having me.
Amazing, man. Let me tell you something. This is something that, a kid like me would be dreaming of when I was little, and now I actually get to be a part of such an amazing journey, because I look at the whole P-Funk experience, no matter where you are in it or doing it, it's a journey that we've all been taking together. Since the time the mothership landed, swooped us up, cloned us, the whole bit. So we've all been taking this journey. Kudos and shouts to those that have transitioned on, because we love you to death, man.
Yes.
Still carry your spirit with us. Partially because, we were designed to do this, and partially too because there's a love of this. like you said, a lot of things that happen illegally we don't talk about, and a lot of people have, said things, this, that, and the third. And I don't get into all that negativity on my shows because I don't really believe in that, because that's not my place. But I know the legacy of it through the shows that still touring, and the bands like ours that we still holding it and doing stuff, Tony Cams, and we believe wholeheartedly in what you're doing, bro, and we just want to say thank you. We got your back.
Thank you, Zach.
Again, this is a journey we all taken together, man. And when we all look back one day, we'll all be part of this journey, no matter where we are on the quilt. I tell other people, listen, just be a patch in the quilt. The quilt's going to keep everybody warm, but you part of that. Just be a patch. You don't got to be like the whole thing. Just a little bit. You know?
And I like what you said too about the keeping it positive, because there's plenty of people out there like in this P-Funk world. We've got a lot of people, luckily now, writing memoirs. They're writing their memoirs and releasing their memoirs and doing that, and that's hugely important to the history and maintaining the history. But sometimes a lot of that stuff, there's a lot of infighting and there's a lot of controversy. I try to stay as far away from that as I possibly.
I noticed that. Yeah, I noticed that about your book. Your books are like informational pieces, documentaries. Yes. I get it, because see, that's why you and I vibe, because we on the same wavelength with all of that. You know, and I done read them all the books. I done read them all. There's stuff that I read years ago. I ain't never said a word about it. I was there, with Sheila and Mike took me and this and that. And it's like mum's the word, because again, I see it differently. I see it like you see it. So when you started doing this research and you did interviews, you had to travel, obviously. And I met Fred too for the first time in person last September. Nice. I went to a show in Charlotte. But you obviously you put a lot of legwork into it. And you had to maintain a balance between touring, your family, and writing the book. How many years did it actually take you? What, 3, 4? Or you started just long before the other book?
The first book took me 30 years. It was like my whole life, just collecting that information and getting back to what you had said too about like leaving out all the other stuff. When it comes to like recording this history, it's important that we understand that nobody else is going to do it. Like everybody could die and the time could pass and we won't have this stuff. So I'm trying to like record the cold hard facts, and get as much of that stuff out as possible before more people are gone, including myself, before everybody's gone. So I just wanted to say that. But in addition to that, the new book, the Make My Funk the P-Funk, this was a year. It took me a year to write. I mean, a lot of the information I'd had for many years, but unlike the first book, which I had kind of spent my whole life compiling, this new book was kind of sprung on me. I didn't know they were going to want another book. I didn't even know I was going to write the first book, let alone another book, So, and now they just approved the third book, and I have a December 15th deadline for my third one. I'm writing like 5 or 6 hours a day, every day. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
I can't wait. You know where to come. You know where to come on.
Yep. And then there's going to be another one right around the corner from that too, because they already want to make this the second book the beginning of a series.
Good for you, bro. I'm so proud of you, man. I legitimately feel such a kindred spirit with you, even though I never bother you at shows and this and that, because I'm kind of like, oh, you see me, I lay back, I don't really try to, but eventually, we're gonna do something together. I know that's in the stars.
Yeah, definitely.
I already know. Yeah, I already know, bro. So I got you slated in. I'll be surprised if I send you a track. Be like, here, play some shit on this. For real.
I'm with it.
Straight up. But I thank you. I appreciate that. I like the fact that when you hit something that my generation, we're all still alive, right?
Yeah.
I'm 67. So when my generation gets a real taste and thirst and sink their teeth into this book, I'm telling everybody out there, you will be so happy. You will be so happy because it will give you a sense of belonging, because everything in the book, you talk about our soundtrack to our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope people see it that way.
I talked to Clip Payne too, and because even though he wasn't in the band yet, he was the only one who wasn't in the band at the time that I talked to, because Clip, being around your age, I thought would be an important kind of like a gauge, because he was at that time, like you, a super fan of the P-Funk. So in 1975, when Chocolate City's coming out, he said all the same stuff that you said, that, was talking to him, his generation, and telling me a little bit about what was happening in Detroit at the time. And then when the other records dropped too, and Take to the Stage and Mothership, and giving that little extra, that's one of the reasons why I talked to Clip about it, because even though he wasn't in the band yet, I knew he was going to have that, because he came in, it's his favorite, much like I did, where it's his favorite band. He's joining his favorite band, So that was cool to get that little extra insight, not just from band members, but from band members who were still fans at the time, and what Mothership meant to them, and that kind of thing. It was cool.
Yeah. Clip was cool because I hung out with him too, obviously, we hung out. And I know his some of the stories he told me. Again, I ain't telling him, but let's just say I understood the brother.
Yeah,
because when I was up there with them, I had a car, and they was like, "Hey, let's go get Chinese food." So I got Boogie. I'm living a dream. I got Gary Scheider. I got Boogie Munson. I'm seeing Bernie. I'm talking to him. I got Clip. I got Skeet, and they sending me for Chinese food. You know what I'm saying? And I'm that guy. And because they immersed in it, they knew I was just there to learn, but I also was like a friend, like that. Like with Blackbird, and I know, he never had a can open. I got to open his bottle of, things like that. So, right, for real. So for me, I was like in such awe of their down to earthness.
Oh yeah.
And I know a lot of things that you mentioned in the book relate to that in such a way to where, they were just everyday cats.
Yeah.
With this special gift. They had a really special gift, but they were everyday cats eating that Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah. And good guys, like good people, just good, not, I think people end up getting surprised when they meet a lot of these guys and they realize they don't have crazy egos, because the general consensus in the music world, and again, because P-Funk, because we're in that music world and we're playing with all the other bands all the time, I can honestly say to you, we're one of the ones. There's a lot of these other bands. Now, one thing I've noticed, though, is I think that P-Funk has influenced a lot of younger musicians in a way where the new bands are a lot more laid back, normal people style. I think they saw a lot of that in P-Funk over the years, because P-Funk has played so many shows and influenced so many people. We're in everybody's town at some point or another. And I think it influenced those younger bands, because I'm noticing the bands where the dudes are my age or younger being much more down to earth than the guys that are y'all's age and the guys in the band that they played with forever, and we'll go and do shows together and people be like, "Oh wow, those guys have crazy ego." Like it's nothing like our guys, For
no reason too. And you know what too helped out? My generation, we was the hippie generation, right?
Yeah, sure.
And because the P-Funk and Grateful Dead, and it was like that was the North and South. Maybe Earth, Wind, and Fire, and somebody else was the East and the West, but that was the North and South. And when I saw the merger start, the real merger, it went very slowly at first, but then all of a sudden, you see Deadhead shirts at P-Funk shows and P-Funk shirts at Deadhead shows.
Right.
That's when I knew, like, this thing has become globally connected to a whole nother set of energy that I guess the two needed each other. And they found each other in a really beautiful way.
Yeah, that's true.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I remember seeing Dead. I came into it obviously later. It was the early 90s when I first started listening to P-Funk. And so that was a time of resurgence for the band, as you know. 93, 94, 92, 93, 94 was a big resurgence period. It kind of reset all the pieces for the next few decades in a lot of ways. And that was the beginning of me seeing Deadheads. Now, you know, it's funny. Despite my long hair and my beard and everything, I never really listened to that music. You know, I grew up, you know, classically trained, as you know. I played a lot of classical music. My dad got me into like Ray Charles and James Brown.
Yeah.
So like I kind of like bypassed a lot of the, you know, the white music. I mean, the white music I listened to was Bach, you know.
Right.
That's the white music I listened to. So you know, I wasn't hearing all this. You know, somebody tell me what's your favorite Grateful Dead song? You know, I thought "Keep on Trucking" was Eddie Kendricks. You know, somebody tell me "Keep on Trucking," I'm "Keep on trucking, baby." You know, that's what I think. Keep on, you know. So like my general knowledge of that stuff was very limited. So in a lot of weird ways, I was like the opposite side of the tracks from the kids on my side of the tracks. But where I noticed it was at these shows, and even at shows in like in like the urban areas, you'd be seeing, you know, mixed in with all the P-Funk heads, a bunch of Deadheads, you know, and some of them would be like, there were even P-Funk Deadhead marriages.
Yeah.
You know, P-Funk guy and a Deadhead chick, a Deadhead guy and a P-Funk chick.
Right.
You know? And they'd be talking about stuff. And I'll never forget standing behind in line at the Palladium in Worcester when I was probably 16 years old. And the guy was like, you know, America Eats Its Young, you know, that was like the Dead. That was like the Grateful Dead. And then the girlfriend, she's like, no, it wasn't exactly. He's like, it was like, you know, and like they go into their little back and forth about it. But just the fact that there's even a conversation shows that there's some kind of correlation here. And I think the biggest correlation has to do with one special fact. And this is really the only thing, because the music isn't really the same. The scene isn't really the same. The big thing that connects them is that both of those bands were famous for playing a very long time and jamming out in this thing. The only difference is that Grateful Dead, it was really loose. And P-Funk only looks really loose.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the
It's not.
You know,
it's not.
I always tell people there's this like sheen.
Say that again. Please say that again so my musician friends can hear it.
Yeah, so Grateful Dead, you know, they really were loose. They were like a loosey-goosey kind of jammy thing. P-Funk only appears to be loose. Like when you go to the P-Funk show, you are, even whether you're a layperson, a P-Funk fan, or a musician or anything, you're kind of cast aside by this sheen in the front of yay, hey, hey, you know, dancers, singers, people from the audience are coming up on stage, and jugglers and puppets and, you know, squirt guns and whatever, right? And then like if you look behind all of that, you'll see about 10 dudes working like they work in the Ford or Chevrolet factory. Like, you know, super concentration, exerting every bit of, you know, you've got some dudes who have been doing 45 years in those positions. You know, it's like working in the factory for 45 years, you know? Yeah. And like a lot of people in music don't equate it that way, but when it comes to P-Funk, it has to be equated that way.
That's right.
The rhythm and the horn section, those are industrial jobs.
Yeah, I always said it's diesel. You know, P-Funk is diesel.
Yes.
It's diesel.
You know, and the modern day parliaments, if you will, the singers give a good front ground impression of it's the party, and that's their job. But it's our job to be the blacksmiths and the construction workers back there and just pounding that stuff down. The
front line, you the offensive line. I get it, bro.
Right.
I totally get it. Because
Exactly.
this is true. I used to play drums for a lot of bands, and the singers, man, and I'd be like, man, y'all are quarterbacks.
Yes.
Y'all are quarterbacks. We doing the work back in you quarterback.
Yeah, it is a lot of that. And, you know, they have a role, a very important role to show the audience this is a good time. And you know, George is the conduit between the audience and the band, you know. He's connecting those two things. You know, he's doing it in like a mixture of math and magic, you know, the way he does it, you know, but he's organizing the singers in a way where they are purporting that thing on purpose, like it's supposed to be the magic and the party and the, you know, and then in the back is the concentration and the just the crazy decades and decades of study, is what goes into those rhythm section and horn section jobs.
That's right.
Decades of study.
I got to say, man, again, we're hanging out. So glad to be with my dog. You can find this book right now all over the place. Make My Funk, the P-Funk, Mr. Danielle on the front cover, BEDROSIAN. His information is at the bottom. You go to all his pages, you just Google it, and it will pop up.
Yes.
Very interesting stories, a lot of information. Tell us a little bit more about the historical insight about, some of the major players in the book that didn't tour.
Yeah.
Because people always want to know that.
Right. So in the back of the book, in the appendix, I include a band bio section. So it's got all 50 of the people who were involved in those 3 albums. And it was interesting. I did a count last night. About 25 of them are still with us, and about 25 of them are deceased now. So that's pretty wild that we've got half, So I'm glad I wrote this book when I did, because 1975 ain't getting any closer to us. You know what I mean? So it's important that we did that. But a good portion of the people involved in these albums were not regular full-time Parliament Funkadelic live touring band members. So there are a bunch of people that were really important, some less known than others. When you get to something like Chocolate City, you have some tracks that were recorded much earlier. So I Misjudged You and the track that was added on to the remastered version, Common Law Wife, both of those were cut for America Eats Its Young.
Right.
So you have some of the America Eats Its Young guys on Chocolate City, which obviously they weren't in the band anymore, like Prakash John, who is a bass player. He played on If You Don't Like the Effects, Don't Produce the Cause. And he also played on I Misjudged You on Chocolate City. So you have characters like that were like, and you have people like the Toronto Symphony Orchestra on I Misjudged You. You have the horn section on Chocolate City, which was has been sort of a mystery for a long time. And I don't want to give it all away, but I want people to get the book, because a huge historical discovery, I think, has been uncovered with this book. And so if you get it, you guys can find out some inside stuff on some of the people. But there's a lot of really interesting people. There was like a whole crew of young ladies from Chicago that were real close friends and girlfriends of some of the band members. And some of them were actually really instrumental in some of the like co-writing on certain songs. And they even pop up as characters in songs. So like there's this Jan McLaughlin who co-wrote Handcuffs. And I think
I always thought that was John, but you're right, it's Jan.
I did too. I thought it was John too, because the guitar player John McLaughlin. I was like, oh, he must be something to do with the album. It's the same time, But it's this girl, Jan McLaughlin.
Wow.
And she wrote the line, "Do I have to put my handcuffs on you?" or something like that. And they used that, so they gave her a writer's credit. But what's really funny is she is the same girl as the "Tell the Manager There's a Girl Named Jan." Jan from No Head, No Backstage Pass.
Right.
That's the Jan McLaughlin that co-wrote Handcuffs.
Wow.
So,
that's deep.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff like that kind of got uncovered that was like semi-unknown. You know
what I always wanted to know? Like, if you look on the back of the Chocolate City album, and I know you know this, it says Glenn Gowan.
Yeah.
Is that a misprint, or he did that on purpose? Because I know he's on it.
It was a misprint. Yeah, he sings on Bigfootin'.
Yes, that's Glenn. Yeah.
But it's funny because almost every band member's like first appearance in the liner notes, their name was spelled wrong. Like if you look at Hit It and Quit It, because Gary got a writer's credit, he might have played the rhythm guitar on that one, even though Tal played the rest of it on that album on Maggot Brain. And Gary's name is listed as Gary Shyla, Shila.
Right.
And then if you ask Clip, in some of those Capitol Records albums, his name's Cup Pain. His name is Glip Payne.
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a few funny.
You can tell though I studied that shit because very few people paid attention to Glenn Gowan.
Yeah, Glenn Gowan. Yeah,
and I was like, no, this dude's got the voice. But then when we heard him on Mothership Connection, I was like, yo, that's the same dude.
Same.
You know
dude.
what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then of course see him live. But yeah, Glenn Gowan, I'm still pissed at that.
That's funny.
I was 75. It's 25. I'm still mad at that. I want that corrected.
I know. Even on the remastered versions, it still has the misprint, which is
yes.
I
demand in the P-Funk court of law. We
for real. Yeah. Exactly.
Yo, man, this is so crazy, bro. You are like, oh my God, through the roof, energy and positive love, man.
Thank you, Zach.
So cool. It's so cool, man. I had a few more. You got a little bit more time. I can stop and I got to stop. I got a hard stop in about like maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
And if anything, I'm going to give you the last word. But I want to talk more about your book.
Sure.
The research process, you told us about. And then you actually, your publishers are so down with you to do, the books you did. And then this one, Make My Funk the P-Funk, which you guys can find a link to at the bottom. And then also, too, you're writing something else. Can you give us a little clue on what it is that you're going to be coming out with next? Is it going to be about the P-Funk women, or is it going to be about more just straight information?
So the third book is going to be another kind of straight information book. I can't give the exact details yet because I think we're making an announcement in early to mid 2026.
Okay,
but it will be another P-Funk book, and then the one behind that, the fourth book, will be another in this series, like Make My Funk the P-Funk.
Right,
so the next, like another year, another historical year. So this next one isn't that, but this next one is another really good P-Funk book that everybody's gonna love. Right. It's just gonna be even more information, even more vital information that nobody really had before. So So at least 2 more P-Funk books coming in the next couple of years.
Let me ask you, who did the cover art for this?
Yeah. Robert Iman. So he's a Dutch guy. He's a cartoonist and a fine artist and a comic book artist. He does everything. He's a genius. He also did the front cover of my first book, the authorized P-Funk song reference. And he's also one of the 3 artists I work with on my comic books, my Sons of the Sun comics. So he did issue 1 of my Sons of the Sun comic book, and he also worked on parts of issues 3 and 4. And he does a lot of the graphic design for my comic books, like the graphic layouts for the printers and that kind of thing. He went to school for graphic design, so he has like a real strong suit in design, and in perspective and that kind of stuff. And they wanted, some mothership iconography, and I think he really nailed it. He killed it. Yeah,
because if people look really closely, they'll see George with the Afro puffs in the middle.
Right.
You know what
I'm saying? You've got the Funkadelic skull and the P-Funk sign and the all-seeing eye and the stars. It kind of like signifies all that stuff. Because in the first book too, he had to do, they wanted this iconography. We want stars and ships, and so he's really good at like touching on the vital points, like the key symbols, and like honing in on those for the reader and for the person. So yeah, he was a perfect choice for the front cover.
Yeah. I was gonna say, because see, we change our backgrounds all the time. I have Funk Not Fight sometimes because I'm involved with that with Boosie and Patty. But I dug up George the Funk Vinci does a lot of my stuff. So I wanted to make sure the backdrop today had that.
Nice.
So shout out to George the Funk Vinci. I know you're watching Saturday. But man, I love it. I love the cover art because see, the cover art is bold and it's right to the point. You know what I'm saying? And I like the fact that it's got the mothership symbols and everything involved in it. When you wanted to tie all together, and this would be my last big question. You wanted to tie all together as much information as you could gather, right?
Yeah.
And you've done that in such a beautiful way. I know I wanted to ask, of course, the blessings of the doctor, did he sign off on this and say, hey, this is good to go?
Yeah, much like the first book, I had George's blessing wholeheartedly. That's why he got one of the very first copies. When I got my comp copies, I made sure I handed him his right away, because not only was he supportive, but I mean, between the first book and this book, he probably did 15 hours of formal interviews. That doesn't even include the years and years of me asking him tedious questions, but 15 straight hours of formal interviews for these books. So, and a good portion of them were for the second book, where we talked about everything from the sci-fi influence to what made him write Chocolate City, to like the camaraderie between him, Bootsy, and Bernie. I mean, everything, like every little tidbit of information that we could really come up with for these 3 albums for this pivotal year. Stuff about the record labels, stuff about, what it took to put an album out in those days, what it took to make a tour happen in those days. He really went in very, very deep. And yeah, he's been a staunch supporter, I'm happy to say, as well as most of the organization, really the whole organization, because I think they see that this is the first history book, like real history book about P-Funk.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And I'm happy to say universities are buying this. So that's So because what I'm trying to create, Zach, a canvas of learning materials, a stack of books that you can say, here's the P-Funk historiography. You can take any number of these books and it can be required reading for an African American studies course, a music history course,
universally.
Universally. An American history course, you name it, 20th century.
Socially too, because the social aspects of a lot of the songs and the political aspects of a lot of the shows in certain times actually pertain to today too.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like my next song I'm getting ready to drop. And matter of fact, I'm gonna send you a sneak peek of the video. I'm dropping it December 25th. Nice. I know you won't share, but I'm gonna let you check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's coming December 25th, and hopefully it'll open up some more doors for what I'm trying to do. But your books and your series and your idea of a historical P-Funk, like the Encyclopedia Britannica, A to Z.
Yes.
That shit is dope, bro. Let me tell you something.
Thank you.
That's fire.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that, bro.
I can't even say how the influence of just one album. But when you take them all, the whole thing, and then you encompass the live shows, and then you encompass the musicianship and the people that came through, men and women, because we can't keep forgetting them girls.
That's right.
It's an amazing journey. Like I said at the top of the show, bro, the journey, no matter what happens in life, I can tell you, marriages, divorces, whatever, the P-Funk song that was in that era. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I can tell you what I was listening to.
Yes, me too.
Want to hear something funny real quick? I was listening to, before I was getting married, it was me, my best man, and my other dude. It was just 3 of us at my wedding party. And I was trying to get pumped, and I'm ready to go to the church. I put on martial law, bro.
Nice.
And I kid you not, that was 2 days before 9/11.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Think about that. I was like, I got it. I just picked it. I put it on. I was jamming. I was going out the door. I was all pumped up. And then 2 days later, and I'm not saying that as a sad note. I'm just saying the mindset of me as a funk fan, I was like, yo, I'm ready to go get married, bro. It's going to take martial law for somebody to stop me,
Right.
But yeah, every song, every era, every musician, that plays a part, man. Like the universe is so good sometimes when it comes to things like this, man. Yo, man, we've been hanging out. It's been an amazing interview. I'm going to give you the full screen. So I want you to, actually say anything that you think is going to be pertinent. And then also, plug the book a few more times. So I'm going to let you talk for.
Cool. Thank you, Zach. Thank you so much for having me. It's always such an honor to be on your show. And I hope I can come back again when my next book drops or when something else happens. But I definitely want to recommend that people They recommend it for their local public libraries because libraries will stock this book if you recommend it. And also, if you go to college, recommend it for your university bookstore. If you go to high school, recommend it for your school library. And if not, recommend it for your local brick and mortar because Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, they already have this book on back order. So all you have to do is walk up and say, hey, there's a book, Make My Funk the P-Funk. I want you to stock it in your store, you know, and they'll do that if you recommend it. So I highly recommend you guys recommend it for your brick and mortars. But if you want to pick up the book, you can get it anywhere books are sold. Amazon, the publisher is Bloomsbury. You can get it from bloomsbury.com. But I also want to put out there that I am selling inscribed, personalized author editions as well that you guys can get for $50. And you can just send it to my Cash App or my Venmo. Cash App is $ Danny Bedrosian, and the Venmo is at Daniel Bedrosian. And you can just send that, and every order comes with a free gift, and you'll get it signed, inscribed, personalized author's edition of the book Make My Funk the P-Funk. So that's kind of a cool way that you can get it if you're interested. Yeah, thank you so much for supporting, and I hope you guys can check out this brand new book, Make My Funk the P-Funk.
Yo, man, again, we can't thank you enough. We've been hanging out today. Special edition of Funk from the Front Seat, which will actually we're live now. We'll be going on Saturday. This brother will be talking about it. Or everybody that's watching, you should know that this is a must-have. You got to get it. It's a must-read. And there's so much information that this brother brings to the table. Being a ambassador of funk as you are, and I'm a funk ambassador as well for Bootsy and Patty's, the Club Funketeers. But being an ambassador of funk, the universe has blessed you in such a way to where we all thank you for it. And those that don't thank you, I'm thanking you for them. You know, because they may not realize what a gift you are to the music business and to the industry, man. So we get ready to get out of here, man. It's been a beautiful hour just like vibing with you. I'll see you probably at some show somewhere doing something, man, because, you know, you're my funk brother, you funk fam. So that's how I feel about you, man. And those of you that are watching, smash that like button and please subscribe. Daniel Bedrosian, Make My Funk the P-Funk. It was our special guest today, and we're going to see him again real soon when he comes back, you know, with his new book or whatever he wants to just come back and chat. Yo, man, the seat is always there for you. So you got it, bro.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you so much for everything. And thank you for having this beautiful medium for people to learn more about the funk, man. I appreciate you so much.
No doubt, man. All right, bro. I get out of here, man. I'll talk to you later, bro.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. That was an exclusive with Daniel Bedrosian, man, hanging out, making my funk the P-Funk, the book. Make My Funk the P-Funk. And one thing about that brother being true to his art and his craft, you know this is great information for anybody that wants to buy this book and anybody that wants to know something. This brother knows. So, you know, and it's real talk, you know, signed off by, you know, Dr. George, of course, you know, the master of it all. You know, so it's really, really, really important and part of funk history. And I am so honored and blessed to have been a part of this particular journey with this brother. He's going to be coming back on soon. You know, I wanted to run a few spots because I didn't want to chop up the show with commercials and things like that. So hang out, and you know, we're gonna run a few spots before we get out of here. And I'm gonna bring my producer Mark Lee on, and we're gonna chat a little bit more about it. So hang on 1 second. Hey, what's up? All my true funk soldiers, club funketeers around the world. This is your host of Funk from the Front Seat, number 9 right here, come to you from the funk universe that I live in. Check this out, man. Smash that like button for Funk from the Front Seat, and please subscribe. We're on every Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. West Coast time. Don't forget, man, Funk from the Front Seat, 9 on the Grind TV. Smash that like button and please subscribe, man. We need it all to come together. Peace, love, and harmony, y'all.
It's Peppermint Patty. Hello to everyone, all of our club funketeers all around the world. I want to say this to you. You're watching FFTFS on 9 on the Grind TV every Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern to 9 a.m. Pacific. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful show it is. And it's with our club funketeer, Who? Zach. On the 9. Zach is the vice president of the Club Funketeers. So we lift him up every day, and we thank him for keeping the funk alive. All right, go ahead. Let's do it, number 9. Peppermint Patty.
What's up, Royal Funk fans? This is Lisa Love, a.k.a. Alpha Unk Omega, coming to you from Love's Temple here in Southern California, inviting you to 9 on the Grind, Funk from the Front Seat with Zach Robinson. This is what I want you to do for me. Tune in every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come join the meeting of minds. I guarantee soul's growth and high vibrations, not to mention the love. Keep it funky, y'all.
Yo, I got to tell you, man, a lot of times, people don't realize, you have friends and other people behind the scenes that help, keep motivating and keep sending you positive love, man. And that's why I always show these little bits from people because, it's important.
Hey, this is Keith Jackson with P-Funk Radio, inviting you to check out my brother Zach Robinson with Funk from the Front Seat. Saturdays, 12 noon on the East Coast and 9 a.m. on the West Coast. It all happens on 9 on the Grind TV and also on YouTube. Great guest, great conversation each and every Saturday. That's Funk from the Front Seat with Zach Robinson on 9 on the Grind TV and YouTube. Check him out.
Hey fam, what's goody good? What's really good? My name is Jeff Roberson from the gospel group called Jeff Roberson and New Life. And I'm coming to you from the town that we had to name it twice. It's so nice. New York, New York. And I'm bringing you some news about my brother from another mother, Brother Zach, who's bringing you his hot new show called Funk from the Front Seat. Listen, he's bringing you funk from the vault, from the past, from the present, and into the future. He's got that music that makes the hair on the back of your neck rise up. He's bringing you funk all the way down to your toes. This is that funk that makes you really want to groove. Stay tuned. Don't touch that dial as he brings you funk from the front seat. Listen, let's go!
What up, everybody? This is Kevin from the Kevin Harrington Experiment, and you're watching Funk from the Front Seat with my brother, Zach, Funky number 9 Robinson. If you didn't know, now you know.
One of my favorites for sure. I love you, Kev. Love you, man. JTRP, P-Funk Radio. Gabe Gonzalez on Wednesday nights, Larry Funkster Jones, Club Funketeer president, and doing his show on Saturday nights. Also, David Webb, connected with P-Funk Radio and what he does with the Funk Chronicles Exhibition Center and Hall of Fame in Dayton, Ohio. Y'all need to check that out. Also, Bootsy and Patty, of course, HJ Entertainment, Kane and Jams, Tony Cam and the Funk All-Stars. We will be making an appearance this Saturday up in DC. So we're going to be up there. Oak City Music Collective, Incredible Management. Thank you so much. Afterglow 92416. It was Boogie Munson's birthday the other day. So shout out, Boog. Love you, Donna. Q&A Entertainment, Brooke Cladgett, my funk angel, Dr. Brookenstein, Patricia, Curtis, and George. Thank you for the artwork. DJ Cocolino, Robin Circle P, David Webb, and also DJ Elizabeth in Ireland. Thank you guys for always supporting the show. Appreciate you guys. Cindy K. Lane, Seattle will get him next year, man. Thank you so much. You guys have been amazing. We're ready to get out of here. I want you guys to remember P-Funk, Make My Funk the P-Funk. Great book. Our special guest today was Danny BEDROSIAN from P-Funk All-Stars. And, he really, really, really laid it out without giving away things in his book. And I love that. So we get ready to get out of here on this one. I'll see y'all next Saturday. Peace.
Hey, yo, man, what time is it? You know what time it is, man. 2 a.m.? Yeah, man. Man, you know what? What's that? It's 8:46, bro. Wow, that's deep. Yeah, you know what time that is. Yeah, man. Nappy head. Yo. Funk Army. What's up? Stand up. Get it live, y'all. Yo, drop that beat. You know.
we gotta do. We bringing this funk just for you. Repeat after me. Say, you don't have to be the best, just gotta outlast the rest. You don't have to be the best, you don't, just gotta outlast the rest. You don't have to be the best, just gotta outlast the rest. You don't have to be the best, just gotta outlast the rest. United we stand, divided we fall. Should our backs ever be against the wall, we'll be together until the jam is done. I'ma say that again for you. United we stand, divided we fall. Should our backs ever be against the wall, we'll be together until the jam is done. Here we go, y'all. Now let me tell you a little story about United we stand. It says we're gonna funk across this funkless land. We gon' stand up and let our voices be heard. We ain't gonna let nobody stop us from spreading the spiritual word. The ruthless corporate greedy don't give a damn about the needies. We need everybody in the house to join us on this one, alright? Y'all say, united we stand, divided we fall. Should our backs ever be against the wall, we'll be together until the jam is done. Are y'all out there? You feeling me? United we stand, come on, y'all. Divided we fall. Should our backs ever be against the wall, we'll be together until the jam is done. Yeah. Check. 1, 2, 1, 2. United we stand, divided we fall. Funkin' with the poor people most of all, as they poison our mind with food control. Third eye is wise, sacrifice. Wake up and see what they doing to you and me. Keeping a separate product of Illuminati, like the jail cell did my boss John Gotti. Dirty politics and high-priced prostitution reside in all the important positions. Just look around at the injustice in the world. Some forced to live in a deplorable conditions. Watch us, watch what we do. This rap's is coming up just for you. So sit back, relax, check out our phone calls. The nappy hip-hop car be always bumping in your trunk. Twitter, tweet, the TikTok. The ruthless corporate greedies don't give a damn about the needies. A movement, genocide and homicide is happening all around the world. Promise me this, promise me that, when all the fat cats stabbing us in the back. Man, get off my back, bro. Killing me. Let me see you wave your hand. We all wanna take the stand. Rise up against the corporate man. Let me head all across this land. Oh yeah. Nothing but this new type funk 2022. Let me see you wave your hands. We all wanna take the stand. Rise up against the corporate man. Let me head all across this land. Come on, y'all. Come on, man. United we stand, divided we fall. One more time. Should our backs ever be against the wall,